call to order the meeting of the Board of Adjustment and Appeals. There are 6 members present. Therefore, 5 affirmative votes are required to grant a variance or appeal. The Board is authorized to grant or deny a variance by Part 3, Section 60 of the Englewood City Charter. Anyone aggrieved by a decision rendered by this Board may appeal that decision to a court of record. However, such appeal must be made within 30 days of the Board's decision. The variance is effective at the end of the appeal period. Building permits for construction associated with an approved variance will not be issued until the appeal period is ended. Building permits must be obtained and construction begun within 180 days of the variance's effective date. We'll open the public hearing for a case. Staff will give us an overview. The applicant will have a chance to come forward. Anyone who wishes to speak for and against will have a chance to come forward, and then we'll touch base with the staff again, close the public hearing. The Board will discuss and vote. Will you please take roll, Ms. Fenn?
Ms. Flynn?
Present.
Ms. Schmidt?
Here.
Mr. Fitt?
Here.
Mr. Taylor?
Here.
Ms. Purdy?
Here.
Chair Carson? Chair Green?
Present.
And Mr. Friesen is absent.
Okay, we'll open the public hearing for case VAR2016-016. Hello, Mr. Lott.
Hello.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that you will tell the truth in this proceeding before the Board of Adjustment and Appeal?
I do.
Please state your name.
Jeremy Lott with the Community Development Department. Okay. So this is variance variance case number VAR2016-016 for 2946 South Lincoln Street. This is an aerial of the property as it is today. This aerial was taken by Google. Our current GIS system is being a little wonky lately, so we decided to go with the Google aerial this time around. As you can see here, the area is comprised of single family and multi-unit, or single unit and multi-unit residences, kind of mixed through. The zoning on this subject property is R2, R2B. The zoning across the street is zoned MUR3A. There's similar zone districts when you are building duplexes and triplexes of what you see in this application. There were a total of 8 neighbor notifications included or submitted. I believe it was yesterday, and so 6 of them I could map here. 1 I believe was a tenant, and 1 did not have an address associated with it. I believe the applicant can point out where that person might be.
So we didn't get any.
Location-wise. Do you have a copy of those with you? Yeah, I think they were turned in yesterday or Monday. So. All 8 of the neighbor notifications were in favor of the development or of the variance request. Are they in here?
You know we take a month off.
Okay, continuing. So this is a site plan that was submitted with the application. There's been no building permit submitted yet, but this is what was submitted with the application. A very standard single unit attached development that's permitted in the R2B zoning district. And the variance request is to reduce the front setback from 25 feet to 19 feet 8.5 inches, or encroaching 5 feet 3.5 inches into that front setback. And the reason the applicant states is to help save a large tree in the backyard. And I don't know the exact dimensions of the tree, but we included the picture for your visuals. Do you have any questions for me?
Is it your understanding the only reason for the request is this tree?
That's correct.
Has anyone on staff been asked whether they think it's feasible to remove the existing garage without killing the tree?
No, that I don't know if that would take a specialized, a demo company. I'm sure the applicant has a better answer than what I can provide.
But the overview that you showed of Google, so to the north, it's not real representative of what it looks like right now because there's been 2 large duplexes built.
Correct.
The next 2 lots to the north.
Yeah, kind of up here, there's a little triplex. So this house exists today. That's on a 25-foot lot. And then this one was a 75-foot lot, and they built 3 units. So that's not there on this image. If it would,
both of those new ones are at the normal 25-foot setback?
correct. However, there is a provision in the zoning code that allows front porches to extend 5 feet into that front setback if they are less than 30 inches above grade and they're covered.
But that's not what's being asked for here.
Correct. So if you look on this site plan here, basically this little part kind of juts into the front, and maybe some of this along there, and then I believe that this part that wraps around is porch.
So if it wasn't for that,
overhang.
we'll get to you guys. We get what we can out of staff, and then we'll ask more questions. So that part that is the only part that really matters?
More or less.
It's the only part that really is covered by the variance? Because the rest would be porch and would be okay anyway?
Correct. Now, so the provision for the front porch only pertains to the first story. So second stories can't protrude into that 25-foot setback, but I believe on this, that centerpiece goes all the way to the second story, the top of the second story.
Okay.
So that would be visually the main difference from the street, I believe.
Any other questions for staff at this point?
The staff report, as for the applicant is asking for a variance into the front setback, but would there be a way to prevent additional encroachment from a porch, an additional into that? Just the way it's worded now, it could come in again with an additional intrusion into that.
Yeah, I mean, you could also include a provision
Okay.
on if it were to be approved, you can include a sentence on that nothing can encroach further than this, already given setback reduction.
Any other questions for staff at this point? Okay, thank you. I'll point out, just from noticing it on the list of neighbor notifications, at least one of those is obviously from a renter because they wrote in the comments that they're
Yeah,
not
and I
the
think
owners.
that's the one that I didn't put on the map, and then the other one there are 2 that aren't on the map. One has no address, and one was the tenant or the renter.
Okay.
And that's a 2921 South
I don't recall off the top of my head. I apologize.
The one that says Dan and Liz.
It says down there in the comments,
Right.
the owners are so and so.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lott. Will the applicant please come forward?
Carleton Pierson. I live at 1690 South Ogden in Denver. But my son and I bought this house, and we're going to be building it. He's going to be building it with Bob, and he's going to live in it.
Okay. Do you have anything to add besides what we've already discussed?
Yeah, a little bit more about the tree. And yeah, so the request for the variance is, we have no other than that front porch that's 5 feet, that creates the exception to the variance, the rest of the house sits back at the 25-foot level. So if it wasn't for that front porch and the design where the two entries are on both sides, the variance wouldn't be needed. And then if we had to push that back another 5 feet, the base of this tree right now, if you granted the variance, would be about 10 feet from the back of the house. If we went to 5 feet, we don't think we could save the tree. I hired an arborist who is a specialist in construction-related. Bob and I met him out at the property, talked about how to get the concrete away from the base of the tree, how to get the garage down away from the tree, and then how to save the root structure during construction. And he was of a mind that it would be very possible to save the tree if we gave it about a good 10 feet on the one side, and then it'd be more room because the new garage will be back further. So basically that tree, if the variance is granted, would be square in the center of the courtyard of the south duplex. So it's kind of nestled in there just right.
So the part that's requiring the variance, that's between the two front porches, that's kind of the barrier between the two duplexes, is that what you're saying? So the porches are in the 5 foot, that would be okay, but the part that's requiring the variance is the part that's between the two porches?
Yeah, can I show you a picture?
Yeah, can we switch back to that, or
Yeah, it makes sense.
is it one that we have?
No, but it's.
Can we keep this?
You can. Sure.
Okay.
So this will be 2-story and not 3, but see the entrance to the south unit would be right there. The entrance to the north unit's on the other side, and this would go up. The building is 20 feet. The blueprint there is built for 3-story, but we thought to better scale to the neighborhood.
Please go back to the mic, because the meeting's recorded.
Yeah, to better scale the property to the house and be cognizant of the neighbors and sunlight, we thought we'd do 2-story instead of 3, and so that roof line is 20 feet, and then you can see that front door section just goes up to the top of the front of the house. So that's the only part that encroaches, I think is what you were asking me.
Yeah. So that part then would be 5 feet ahead in front of the other two recently scraped and rebuilt, or I guess is it a duplex and then a triplex that's next to it?
Single family, single-story
Single-family
home
and then
to
a
the north,
triplex?
and then it's a triplex.
So you're going to be further out into the setback than either of those with that front part?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And then the houses to the north, it would be in line with the foundation, and they have enclosed porches that go another 5 foot, so it would be back. It'd still be set back from the front of the houses to the south, the existing houses to the south.
Is the second floor also requires the variance? Is that correct?
I don't think so.
Oh.
Yeah, it does.
Yes, it does on the entry, the 5 by 6 foot section. Yes, I'm sorry.
And then is there anything constraining you in the code to have the depth of the building that you've chosen? You know what I'm saying? Like, why couldn't you build the same building but at the setback that's required by code? Why couldn't you build a shorter building, is what I'm asking.
I could shorten it 5 feet, but it would alter the plans that we've developed.
You mentioned something about a garage, but there's no garage shown on here. Where do you intend on building those, and how are those not going to encroach on the tree?
I think if you look in the packet on A2, it's a couple, it's like the first, second, third.
Ms. Flynn,
I see.
I'm assuming that's the garage he's talking about.
So how is that not an issue with the tree in the houses?
yeah, it does look close in their picture.
It's another 10 feet back.
So that this just isn't accurate where it's drawn?
It's just, yes, it's not proper to scale. Yeah, so it would be, the garage will be in line with all the other garages in the single-family residence to the north, and the triplexes, their garage it'll all be in the same line. And it'll be another 10 feet back from where that existing garage is, in line with all the others within code.
The existing house that's there currently, does it have a basement?
It does.
Is it a full basement?
It is.
Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is anyone present? I guess we have some people present. Apologize if I mispronounce names. Mr. Lett Comiller.
Could I make a clarification on the neighbors and the documents? I think there was one. Can we go back a couple?
Yeah, hold on just a second, Mr. Leckomiller. Let's let him finish this.
So the neighbor directly behind to the east, it's the renter that had the names of the owners of the property. I wasn't able to reach them, but she was a big fan of keeping the tree. Matter of fact, when I knocked on her door, she said, "I'm hoping you're going to save that tree." So by and large, the neighbors all the way around were all in favor. Anyways, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Leckomiller.
Jeremy Leckomiller, 2856 South Lincoln. I'll be very honest with you. I had a speech drafted up for you guys, and it was very much opposed to allowing this variance. However, listening to a lot of this now, I want to hit on a few points, but it has kind of swayed what I think. I actually applaud the developer for trying to conserve some green space. I don't know how aware you folks are of what's going on in this neighborhood redevelopment-wise, but my family and I have been pretty involved with watching and monitoring this, as it's been a ravaged neighborhood from Yale to Dartmouth on Lincoln and Sherman. There have been 30-plus properties that have been converted to duplexes, which is absolutely astronomically astounding. My dream would be to not demolish any more properties and put up any more duplexes, but that's certainly within a property owner's right, so we're obviously not going to change that. What I will say, though, is that I do applaud the developers for trying to conserve some green space, such as a tree and whatnot. That was one of the points that I was hoping to make tonight, as to reason to not do that, so kudos for doing that. It's kind of one of those, we're all familiar. If you give a mouse a cookie, it's been one of those. If you give a developer a variance, they kind of go crazy. There have been 6 big rules changed in the last couple of years in regards to the development of this area, and it's been all in favor of developers. And then to actually hear that there's an invested person who's going to be living there is another great thing. So. Yeah, as long as there's going to be green space that's preserved, which it sounds like there is, I don't have a whole heck of a lot of opposition to this. Like I had checked, the one request that I would make to you folks or to whoever this is appropriate would be somehow making the reason for these variance requests a little more readily available, so that I understand why I'd be opposing or for this. It says, this is what we want to do, but it certainly doesn't explain to me why. If I were to guess based on all the other properties that were built in this area, it would be because the developer wants to get the most bang for their buck and fill as many square feet of that property as they can. This certainly is the exception to the rule, but I had no way of figuring that out. So if there's any way that we could make it, I looked through the website, I think it's probably there, but it's not readily available. So that would be one thing I would encourage, that's a little bit more readily available to the public, so that we know obviously my speech means pretty much not much. So I would encourage that.
Thank you for participating in your input.
Yeah.
As far as like the information, so that the same packet that we get of the information that the applicant applied with, I'm pretty sure that's available.
So when I clicked on it, it makes you log in. It gives you a login to the city. That's the only thing that I could find on there.
Okay, I'll address that and make sure that that's made clear. But yeah, the way that we access it is through that same public site.
I believe you, and you have to have a login.
Yeah, I don't log in to get the. They do send me a direct link to the PDF.
I wonder if that's why. Because
I'll look and see what it's like to try to go straight.
I had to have a login to do it, which would have told. I probably wouldn't. I'll be honest with you. I probably wouldn't even be.
Yeah, because the packet, their application made it clear
I'm
that it was
sure.
about the tree.
Yeah,
So
I'm sure. So yeah, and I just certainly hope on the developer's sake, this is a pretty ravaged and brutalized neighborhood at this point. So during the construction process, hopefully it can be kind of peaceful and clean and amiable to pedestrians and noise and whatnot. So. But other than that, I do applaud that, and hopefully the tree is healthy and can stay that way.
thank you for your input.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Gilboy, is that right?
I did. Margaretta Gilboy, 2741 South Sherman Street, Englewood. I'm here because I really couldn't understand the language of the variance. I understood it was about a setback, but I drove by the place and I couldn't imagine how it could come any closer to the sidewalk and not start tearing down the feeling of the neighborhood, which is, I grew up in Philadelphia in an area in West Philly where houses were built right practically up to the sidewalk, and it definitely changes your feeling of spaciousness in the neighborhood, and so I think I'm against it for that reason, but basically I came because I didn't know what the variance was about. So I think I would appreciate if in communicating to when these things arise, if it could be in language that somebody who's not an architect or doesn't know all the laws could understand. And even so, I don't really understand what the tree has to do with moving forward 5 feet.
I mean, I'll do my best to explain my perspective on what they're asking for. Could we go to the slide that looks like it shows this?
Right.
Oh, thanks. So, I mean, they are obviously trying to maximize building space for what's legal. And to do that, they've designed this is my perspective, just personal, what I'm trying to describe to you. So the size of the building fits within all the rules, okay? But there's a rule in the building code that the front of it has to be 25 feet back from the border of their property, right? And the rule also allows it to be only 20 feet if it's a porch, and that's only for the first story. But in this case, they want to have the part of the entire structure, both bottom floor and top floor, be 20 feet instead of 25 feet from the front. So it's not right up to the front. It's still 20 feet back. And the reason that they're saying they want that is because they want to still maximize the size of the building that's allowed on the property while also saving that tree. So if they had that maximum size of building on the property at the 25-foot setback, based on what they've told us from what the arborist said, it would be harder to keep that tree alive. And it is one of the larger trees in the area. If you go, I went by and looked, and I saw that at least that end of the block, it's one of the larger trees that's there. So that's what they're saying. So we did ask the question, couldn't you make the building smaller? Nobody wants to make the building smaller because people want to make, maximize property value, et cetera. But that is a possibility. They could save the tree and have a smaller building. They're choosing to pursue this and, keeping the building that they want and keeping the tree and having this variance. So that's what it's about, is it's about It's about the part of it that sticks 5 feet into the 25-foot setback on the front. So it'd still be 20 feet back, but it's not 25 feet back, which is what current code is. Does that make more sense then?
Yeah, I appreciate that. Now I really get it. But so what it would impact, I assume, is the feeling of for the people who are on either side. The projection.
Maybe this is the time to say we're a board with a limited task, and we have 4 criteria. Anyone who comes before us has to show that they've met those 4 criteria. And do you want me to quote? I don't want to.
I think it's fine. Go ahead.
Paraphrase them, but I'd be happy to read them through for everybody's benefit.
So we are the board that grants or denies a variance, and we have 4 specific criteria that we have to judge a variance by. So go ahead.
Okay, it's a learning moment. Okay. The first criteria is that unique physical conditions exist, such as size, shape, location, topography, or surroundings which are peculiar to the land or structure involved, which deprive the applicant of privileges enjoyed by other properties in the vicinity. The second is that the variance is consistent with the intent of the zone district regulations to secure public health, safety, and welfare. The third is that the variance will not permanently impair the use or development of adjacent conforming properties or alter the essential character of the neighborhood. And the fourth is that the variance is not a self-imposed difficulty or hardship. So we try to be very, tight to those criteria, and we're thinking about those as we're asking these questions.
Right, because those are my concerns too, exactly. And whether yes, people want to maximize the development, but what about the feeling of the neighborhood, and what about the people on either side of the structure, and what about people walking on the street? So I don't know how I'm voting, but I have a feeling I would vote against it just because I think everybody would like to be able to maximize their real estate, but maybe to preserve quality in Englewood, we have to be a little strict. So sorry if I wasted anybody's time.
No reason to be sorry. Thank you for coming and participating. And Mr. Byers.
Yes. Bill Byers, 3746 South Forest Way. So I built the house to the north of this proposed one at 2936 South Lincoln on the 25-foot lot. And a couple years ago, I asked for kind of the same variance and was denied. But I actually support their case. I've got a drawing here that I submitted a couple years ago showing that probably 75% of all the houses along the block are already at 20 feet. And in Denver, the zoning code is 20 feet. And it seems to me that Englewood is definitely a follower of kind of what Denver does. And without a doubt, with the bulk clean changes, it seems like 20 feet is going to be here before we know it. So it might be time just to kind of say, let's go there with it. So I can submit that. And then my only suggestion.
But you understand we can't change. That's.
I know. Just pointing out, some stuff. And then because I built the house to the north of this, and that actually is just kind of a one-story raised ranch. The owner of that now can't be here tonight, but he's very worried about his sunlight and just how the duplex will affect his environment. So I also just did up a little sketch of how I thought the duplex could shift, so the part to the north could actually shift up to the variance, and the part on the right could shift back, so that more sunlight from the south then could make it over to the property at the north. And that's pretty much all I have to say about it.
You're in favor of, you're stating that you're in favor of the variance.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure. Can I give you these?
Yeah, you can come back up. Now's the time to do it because we're about to close the public hearing.
In the pictures, there's a picture of how the house would sit in relation to the existing houses that are to the north. So, yes, so the line to the south, that straight line with the arrow. Yes, that's the existing foundation of the house to the south, and then their porches that are close, and they go out another. Those houses to the north, those still sit there. And they're really the only reason for that variance on the front. We could make it flat, but it would kind of not be as pretty in the front, is what our thought was. So, it's more aesthetic. It makes the duplex look prettier to have that extra 5 feet. Anyways, thank you.
All right, thank you. Do you have any more questions for staff?
I do. In this zone district, has there ever been a variance less than 25 feet when this, neighborhood was originally built?
Not to my knowledge.
But, so there's some older houses that were built when this 25-foot setback didn't exist.
Yeah, the houses that they're referring to are older.
Yeah, and it's possible they could have been built before they were incorporated into the city of Englewood, so.
Well, it said this was part of the original Englewood.
Yeah, so the original incorporation, there were some existing houses, and then they annexed, or they incorporated a large area, but it was one of the first areas, or it was the first area of Englewood, but it could have been developed prior to being incorporated. But I'm not 100% sure.
And the overhang appears to line up with the existing south foundation.
Correct.
So essentially, they're almost set back. And then you've got a single family to the north that is set back. And then you have the monstrosity of the triplex.
Correct.
Which is going to be equal to their south home. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff? All right, thank you, Mr. Lott.
Welcome.
Close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that the case VAR2016-016 be granted a variance to encroach 5 feet, 3.5 inches into the required 25-foot setback.
Front setback. Yep. Is there a second?
Second.
A second?
I
Yeah, oh, okay. Thank you.
just didn't speak up.
So, Mr. Taylor, did you have a suggestion for a modification to the motion?
I would just be concerned that if we gave this variance, that when things do come in for a building permit, whatever, that there could be an additional encroachment into beyond that for some sort of overhang or porch. If we are just giving I know we're looking at a site plan now, but if we're just saying,
Right, so you'd want to state that there's no way to add a porch beyond this.
correct, there would be no more permitted
Ms. Schmitz
projections into the
or
front setback.
Mr. Finn, do you see a way to incorporate that?
I mean,
Maximum including porch?
can we do that?
We can make it whatever we want, is my understanding.
I mean, I don't know, because that's a whole different,
You can conditionally approve it.
we could conditionally approve it as long as there's not any other or
Just say that it's maximum including porch. Mr. Comer just said,
All right, so I will attempt to, do I need to withdraw the motion? All right, friendly amendment that the case VAR 2016-016 be granted a variance to encroach 5 feet 3.5 inches into the required 25-foot setback. That will include any porch, and no porch or other structure will be allowed to encroach into the front setback. It's very sloppy.
What's the goal?
The goal is to make it so they can't put a porch another 5 feet into this front setback.
That's allowed.
Is that the way the porch exception is written?
It may not be necessary based on that. You're right.
As long as the porch is less than 30 inches, it can.
Yeah, it's covered porches and stoops, decks, terraces, and patios with a walking surface less than 30 inches above grade may extend no more than 5 feet into a required front or rear setback. So if we
5 feet more than
5 feet more than whatever we change it to.
Do you have an alternate way of wording it?
I don't, and I'm inclined. I'll just lay it out there. I don't think it meets the criteria. I'm not interested in myself in tying ourselves in knots trying
Modifying,
to
okay.
rezone.
Understand.
And I think it's a zoning board issue if we really think 20 feet is the right setback in this zone, then that requires all of the processes they go through with public input to get there. If they, if it's some sort of combination of porch and reduction of that setback, then that process also would take all of the things into account that would come up with that change. So I'm just not comfortable with zoning in that way.
Or you think that it doesn't meet first criteria?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it meets the first criteria at all. I mean, I don't see how. The problem is it's a large tree, but a large tree can die or be cut down, and it's going to change. In the past, when we've considered a tree in this process, it hasn't been a scrape, and it's been an existing structure, and someone was trying to do an addition. Right. This is a scrape. So, in my opinion, yeah, if they want to save the tree, they need to design around it. And there's no guarantee even that they'll save the tree when you start digging out a new basement and you start, and you start, now you put another garage and you have construction equipment around. As much as I would love to see the tree saved, something could happen.
Yeah, and there's no way to make the variance dependent on saving the tree.
Right. I think that's, I just don't see how this fits into the first criteria.
Does anyone have any thoughts on how it does? Any other discussion? Okay, let's vote.
What's our motion?
Motion is what was stated by Mr. Finn.
The original motion.
Is somebody withdrawing
I thought we were.
the second one?
Yeah, I thought
I'll withdraw the friendly amendment that was sloppily done and just have.
Withdrawing the condition.
Correct. And just go back to the first.
Okay. So we're voting on the motion as originally written and
As originally stated, that the case VAR 2016-016 be granted a variance to encroach 5 feet 3.5 inches into the required 25-foot setback.
Okay, let's vote.
I miss Randall. I voted no. The first criteria, unique physical conditions existing such as size, shape, location, topography, and surroundings. While the tree is a beautiful thing, there is no guarantee that it'll survive construction, nor is it unique. Other properties have trees. You can design around. Second criteria, variance is consistent with the intent of the zone district. It doesn't seem like there's many consistencies right now. So no. Third criteria is that will not permanently impair the use or development of the adjacent conforming properties. Well, there is a house to the north that would be impacted by this, as well as the surrounding homes. And the fourth criteria is not a self-imposed difficulty or hardship. They could lessen the structure 5 feet.
I voted no for the reasons stated.
I voted no for the reasons stated.
I voted no for the reasons stated.
I voted no for the same reasons.
Corrine, I voted no for the reasons stated, and I live in the neighborhood, and I appreciate trying to save the tree. It is one of the larger trees in the area, and speaking for myself, I appreciate the trees, but it's not something that falls into what we can justify variance for. So, thank you, and so it stands. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from October 12th?
I so move.
Second.
Let's see, was everyone here? Everybody here was here.
Yeah.
What?
Yes, everyone was here.
Yeah, so all in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same. Okay, minutes are approved. Is there a motion to approve the findings of fact from the case for 4975 South Galapago Street? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve findings of fact for case VAR 2016-016 4975 South Galapagos Street.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same. Okay, that's approved. Do you have anything for us, Mr. Lott?
No, there are 2 variances for January, whatever the day of the month that falls on.
Okay.
I don't know the details about them. One's coming from Audra and one's coming from Brooke. So,
Anyone have anything for staff? I have one. So you were saying there was an issue with the mapping software this time or something?
yeah, we updated our software, so we're trying to work through that.
Because, I like the addition of the Google overview, but I also really want to see the grid.
Yeah.
Where it says the addresses and has the squares around them, so we know.
Yeah.
What,
I tried
easier
to
map
mimic
the-
it, but it's not.
Okay, yeah. So you're not permanently omitting that.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, if you could include that, but I do like
All right.
I do like the Google
Yeah.
because that's a current view.
Yeah.
And some of our mapping stuff, while it has the grid, it's not a current area.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
That's true.
Well, even the Google in this case wasn't that current because there's the 2 properties. That
Yeah, there's only so I guess so current you can keep.
Can't just send a
aerial
flyby.
photos. Right. No drones yet.
2 years.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Do you have anything for us, Mr. Comer?
I do not.
All right. Is there a motion to adjourn? Oh, does anyone on the board have anything? I apologize. I'd like to say thank you to Ms. Purdy for organizing the dinner. And only people who came were Mr. Friesen and Ms. Purdy and I. And I encourage you guys to come next year. It is kind of nice to have a chance to get to know each other outside of the board. I also feel like, I guess this is my thing for the board. Mr. Smith, who was the chair for a long time, frequently would invite everyone, to go have a drink after, and it's kind of how I got to know people, and I appreciated that, and I haven't really, personally instigated that, and I'd like to put that out there. If anyone is interested in, meeting up afterwards for a little bit, I'm certainly open to hanging out. So I'll kind of talk to you guys individually, or if anyone has any input, feel free to say. But I did appreciate that, and it was nice to get to know people and hear history of how the board operated and stuff. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Yes, there is.
Second.
All in favor, state aye. Aye. All right, we're adjourned.